audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen,
Every day
Mr.
from there.
Jerry Springer.
Can you hear me up in the balcony? Yeah. Oh, that's great. What a crowd.
Fantastic.
See, now if I were Trump, I'd say 30,000 people here. Holy cow.
There's 12.
Well, it's interesting you should say Trump because I look at you, and boy, I definitely don't see Donald Trump.
Thank
because
you.
Megan, if you look at Jerry,
Yes.
there seems to be, he has a different look. Something's different.
Something's
I don't
a
know what
little
it is.
different. I can't
Something's
put my
different.
finger on it, but
He
yeah.
looks cleaner. Something's different.
Oh,
A little less orange tinted.
Has something happened?
I was cleansed yesterday.
Oh.
Oh, well, tell us about that.
Well,
what does that mean?
We already talked about
in
that.
You
my
took a bath,
faith, in my faith, it's the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur,
Got
and we
it.
go and we
He's a
confess. You know, Catholics do it in every Sunday. We do it one day a year. So I'm there, and you know, I need to be there, and I'm confessing all day, and then the service is coming to an end, and I get up to leave. And the rabbi in front of everyone says, "Not so fast, Springer. You got to stay longer."
Really?
Get back here,
It just
sir. You're
doesn't-
not done
doesn't
yet.
seem right.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
Yeah.
though, I think he may have had a point.
Yeah, but then I said, "Well, with my show, don't you listen to the final thought?"
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
So you atoned.
Did I
You
atone?
atoned.
Some of the stuff you've said to Megan or about me and about Megan, did you atone for that?
Yeah.
Is that
That is locker room talk.
Oh. That's right.
That's a tone, man.
Hey, by the way, we have a big announcement tonight. By the way, why don't you
do.
make it?
Yes, we have our podcast. By the way, congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Our podcast has been picked up by Westwood One.
That's a big, that
That's a
Westwood
big deal.
One.
That's a big deal.
That's
It is a giant.
Wow.
Yeah. That really is. That's the first really great news in terms of our.
Well, yeah.
The
They're a big
acceptability
company,
of the pod-
Cumulus, part of Cumulus
Oh,
Radio.
yeah,
It's a big
their
deal.
radio empire is huge. And now they've gotten into the podcast world, and they've picked up a few podcasts, and so now we're part of it, and nice work. So
Hey,
they,
could I
we're very
ask
happy about that.
maybe it's more than a favor. I don't
Yeah.
know how to say this because you're the boss of this operation, but
Yeah, I'm the-
let me just put it to you straight.
Yeah, how, what?
Now that we're part of Westwood One,
Yes.
you must stop telling the lame-ass joke that you
Thank
tell
you.
every week.
Thank you.
No, you
However,
must, because Jerry, they
I
won't
don't
tolerate that
repeat
level
jokes.
of amateurishness.
My wife Mickey's in the audience here.
We're sorry, Mick.
Well,
Wait,
Mickey
wait.
and her twin
Twin
sister,
sister Tony.
Tony. I don't know which one is which.
No,
Do you
which
know?
one? One of them is one of them is my wife. The other's
Oh, my
this
gosh.
Mickey's
Her
in,
twin sister.
Mickey's in blue. She raised her hand.
Okay.
Mickey, that's my wife.
Good, good.
I told him to say something stupid, and whoever rolled their eyes first was going to be Mickey.
Yeah,
That's good, Megan.
that's good. Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
anyway,
Mickey.
thank you for stopping I know you were going for the world record and telling the joke more than it's ever been
I
told
never-
before.
I don't.
But anyway, thank you
That's
for not doing that.
that's not
Who-
me.
I saw you talking to an
I hate
elderly
you.
guy when
Oh
we
my
came in.
Yeah, as I was walking in,
Yeah.
this is true.
I didn't know what that was
Gene
all about.
Galvin.
Yeah, it was that older gentleman, and where he was talking about, he has this new hearing aid.
Really?
And he says to me, "This is the finest hearing aid money can buy."
Special
And I said, "What kind is it?" He said, 4 o'clock.
I say it every single week. If you keep laughing, he
Well,
will
wait,
keep
you
saying the
people are
joke.
here every week. Why are you still laughing?
It's not funny. It's not. It wasn't funny the first time. It really wasn't.
You think they're just being polite?
I think they're being very polite. But you, Mr. Galvin, those in glass houses, let's be
Well,
honest.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, one time, some years ago, I ran for political office in a very conservative county on the east side of Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Claremont County.
Claremont County, for people who are from this area, and most of our listeners aren't, of course. But so I ran for office, and I got my butt kicked royally. Lost like 60-40. I had the 40%. And you know, one day my daughter, she was in the 3rd grade. Now she's a grown woman, has
She's
a
been on the show.
family.
Yeah.
Chaz,
Yeah, Linda
Chaz.
called in on
Yeah,
a
Linda.
sad story, but anyway.
And
go ahead.
so one day my daughter came home and she said, "Oh, excited, Dad, I'm going to run for student council, the representative for the 3rd grade to the elementary school." And I said, oh, that's great, Lindsay, that's great. And she left the room, and I sat Bonnie down. I said, this is not going to go well, because Galvins cannot win in Claremont County. We're Democrats.
Yeah.
She will get her butt kicked royally. What do we do? How do we tell her that? And, you know, it's a third-grade kid. You don't want to break their spirit. She goes to work. God bless my daughter, my wife, Bonnie, who's in the audience. My first wife, Bonnie, sitting over there. Hello, Bonnie. And so she went to work, and Bonnie does her thing. You know, all the signs are in glitter, you know,
Heck
Megan,
yeah,
all that
as
stuff.
you do.
And little handouts.
Yep.
And she worked, and she worked, and she worked, and she won the election.
Well, what does that say about you?
What does that say about me?
Yeah. So obviously, Claremont County would vote for
Yeah,
a,
the right gal.
for the right gal.
The right gal. I wrote a column at the time, and I wrote a column about
Good for her.
that, about how Galvin couldn't win, and she did it. It was kind of interesting, but there was a guy at the time who was a state rep named Sam Bateman, a Republican, conservative, staunchly conservative, and he gave her some sort of certificate, I guess, from the Ohio State
See?
Legislature.
See, you
So
can't-
there is a Galvin who can win.
And
It
there
just
also
ain't me.
apparently is a Republican who can be nice.
That's right.
I'm sorry, just kidding.
That's right. And
We love having you here.
And Megan, you're different from us. You're unattached professional woman. You date, you're enjoying a dating life.
Yep.
And you use dating sites. I think you use blessedvirgin.com
Yes.
or something, or one of them. I don't know which one it is.
It's pretty accurate. Yeah, that
Is
one.
that- yeah.
That's we'll just go with that.
Anyway,
And Farmer's Daughter.
It's farmers only. I
Oh,
swear to God.
Farmers only.
Farmer's daughter.
anyway, you were telling us that you had an experience.
I did.
You got a date with a guy. Yeah, tell us about it
Yeah,
and
a
how it
couple of
ended.
weeks ago. Well, we had actually talked to him, but super nice guy. So this was quite unusual, actually. So we went out. We had a very nice time. We went to dinner.
Yes.
And we actually went out again the next day. Met like in the afternoon. Went downtown, went shopping, and just really had a nice time. And so that was a Saturday and a Sunday. And on Monday evening, I got a phone call from him.
Ooh.
And he said,
Starting to look
hey,
good.
yeah, I know. Everything's on the up and up. But he said, hey, you know, how's it going? Everything, yep, okay. So really enjoyed meeting you, really enjoyed hanging out with you. Had a great time. I think you're a smart woman, attractive woman. But I didn't feel any chemistry there, did you? And I was so relieved because I didn't. And he was a super, super nice guy, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh my God, it restored my faith in people. Like this guy had the cojones to, you know, pick up
Yeah,
the phone
yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
you know, respectable, sweet. So that's my story.
That's good. That's good.
Oh,
It was nice, and we parted ways, and we, you know, he's from a local-ish area.
Yeah.
So he said, you know, good luck to you.
And I guess that speaks well for the Catholic dating sites.
It does. It does for all those
Yeah.
religious dating sites.
Yeah.
It sure does.
And he didn't slam you up against the wall and try to kiss
He
you.
did not. He did not. No.
Yeah.
I was in no way
So
attacked.
un-Trumpian.
The other day I was watching, flipping around watching movies, and the Austin Power movie came on. And you
Which
know who-
one?
Well, it's the one that, guess who's in it?
I didn't know you were in one.
The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Are you really in? I've seen that
Yeah.
movie. You're in it. When? Where are you in
Yeah,
it?
tell
no,
us about
actually, we have the big fight scene where he throws me through the window.
I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's where he has the people on our show,
And you're.
and then he gets angry, and he starts fighting with me, and we go through the window, and he's yelling, "He bit my leg! He bit my leg!"
Did you do your own stunts?
Did it with Mike Myers, and the term is thrown around too easily in show business, but he is almost a genius in terms of his talents, because he wrote the wonderful series Austin Powers. He directs it, he acts in it. I mean, he is a comedian of great talent. And I want to be friendly with him now because he's Canadian.
Right.
So we
Might
should
need a
all
place.
try to find one Canadian friend.
Yeah. Just in
Jerry
case.
claims Mike Myers. So.
Yeah. Well, we said it last week, I think, that all the people that are threatening if Trump wins to, go to Canada, that Canada has now announced that it's going to build a wall and make America pay for it. So we'll see that.
Hey, Megan,
Hey,
and we're going
Gene.
to draw Jerry into this too, big
All right.
time.
Okay.
Because so much has happened in the last few days.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get both Jerry and I were talking about this driving over here, to get your perspective as a woman on the events of the last couple days. And of course, I'm talking about the tape that came out with Billy Bush,
Right.
in which Donald Trump described things that he does to women, that he has done to women, and the great license that he feels he can take because he's a celebrity.
Yep.
Then women, then denying it in the Sunday debate, and in the last debate, was that on a Sunday?
Yes.
Yes, it was. And then saying, no, I didn't really do any of that, that was all just locker room talk. And then women watching the debate said, well, that's actually not true, you did it to me, and up to 4, and who knows if more will come.
Right.
So what's your take on all of that as a woman? And then we'll draw Jerry in, because he's got some analysis of it as well from his perspective. But
Yep.
what do you think?
I mean, in all honesty, the fact that that man has daughters and can say things like that, to me, it just turns your stomach. And I listened to Michelle Obama speak today, and I heard part of that, and I think she probably summed it up the best, honestly.
That was singularly the best speech of the entire
I
campaign.
could not
and
be
I'll
more
play it to you
proud.
later.
Yeah, it was
She
so good.
spoke today, and honestly, you know, I haven't heard a better speech.
Yep, I agree.
And I don't know how long.
I agree.
And look how great a speaker her husband is.
Yep.
But that was the finest speech, the most human, the
Mm-hmm.
most, you know, how can anyone listen to that and disagree with anything she said? And it was so heartfelt.
Yep.
And for those of us who aren't women, boy, it really makes you think. Things we just take for granted, we don't think of, you know, whether it's a construction worker whistling at a woman walking by and all that. What women live with every single day, always thinking that someone is judging the way they look. Everything.
It's in all honesty, that's some stuff like just in the past few days on the internet, you see it more and more, and you read the articles about all the precautions, all the things that women do in their daily lives, and you don't even think about it anymore. I don't walk to my car without like my keys in my hand, just in, like I don't park in dark places. If I get pulled over, I'm still going. I'll even signal a cop to get to where a light is. Like there are just things that as women we're taught, and part of it is personal responsibility. Men need to be aware too, but we are taught these extra levels of precaution from dangerous things that in very life-threatening ways. But then you hear somebody who's running for the highest office in the land saying that this type of behavior, not that he's violent, I'm not saying that, but this kind of forcible, just macho behavior is acceptable and it's cool, and that's something that we should just be okay with because it was locker room talk. I think it was disgusting to me. It was so disgusting.
Let me tell you, because I am around as much foul language as
It's
anybody
true.
because of my job. and that
so
is the
true.
truth. 26 years, I've heard every word. Okay?
Multiple times, I'm sure.
And, you know, even being a guy in locker rooms and stuff like that, what he's describing, I've never, ever heard stuff like that. I've heard dirty jokes, but I've never heard a guy say to me, well, you grab a woman by you know what, and you do that, and you do. What? I mean, so let's not just pass it off as, gee, that's what guys talk. Guys will tell jokes. And I credit you with years ago making me aware, even though I think I was aware, but it wasn't about that, it was about racial jokes.
Yeah.
And not because we were telling racial jokes, but somehow that we were in a discussion about it. And Gene said to me that when he's in a group and one of them is telling a racial joke, he doesn't let it pass. He says, I'm not comfortable with this, and walks away. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow. Because that's how I felt, but I wasn't sure if I couldn't go back and say every time I heard someone give a racist joke or an ethnic joke or a joke about Jews or whatever, you know, that I walked away from it. And that is the response that we ought to have. Because when you start telling these kind of jokes, even in locker room talk, what that says, and it is with a racial joke, a gender joke, whatever it is, you are at some level admitting that you think that person or that group is a little less than you. You know, no one would make a disparaging joke about a Nobel Prize winner or whatever. You know, it's always some other group. It's always some other religion, some other, you know, the quote, the Polish jokes or whatever, is because at some level we connect and say, wow, that person, that group may be a little bit less. Now, you may not mean for them to have any harm. There may not be an evil bone in your body. But here's what happens. When young people growing up telling these jokes, and then they get to believe that that group is a little less. And they won't do anything bad to that group, but when times turn tough and we start having policies or restrictions against some of these groups, it's a little easier to tolerate. So if you tell enough jokes, let's say in the 1930s, if you told enough jokes about African Americans, and all this, and using the N-word, and this, that, and the other, then if there suddenly was some legislation passed and say, well, we're not going to do the food stamps anymore, we're not going to worry about the housing, it's a little easier to kind of accept, because at some subconscious level you think, well, you know, they're a little bit less, it's okay. That's how discrimination turns into racism. It starts with the jokes. It's why we have to teach our kids from day one. You don't ever tell an ethnic joke. You don't tell a racial joke. It's not funny, because you build in an acceptance of judging a group, not based on anything a person did, but just because they're a member of that group, as being something less. That is what is, and you know, and you, I vividly remember where we were when you were talking about that. We were having dinner one night, and that's a great point. Don't let your kids make jokes about women like that, about African Americans, about Muslims, about Hispanics, about Polish people, about Jews. Because once it becomes acceptable, when times turn tough, there'll be some evil people like a Donald Trump that will take advantage of that. So when he cries out in the group, when he's giving a speech to a big, huge crowd there, and there's an African American, look, there's my African American. Well, everyone there laughed and cheered, because they got what he was saying. He was saying, well, there's the African American. And how often when you talk about another group do you kind of whisper? You know, that's so, it starts with us. It starts with us. It's not acceptable. Gender jokes, racial jokes, religious jokes, and hearing aid jokes.
Thank you.
I want
There
to
you
get
go.
you.
See, that's ageism, Jerry. You can't tell those jokes.
I know.
Oh my
I
God, we have a
apologize for
legitimate
that.
reason for this joke to never be told
Yeah,
again.
Don't count on it.
Don't count.
I want to get you to
Yeah.
talk more about specifically the election, because all of that folds into that and relates to it. And God, as of this night, we're doing this show about 26 days to go. But before we do that, I want to add one other thing. It's another reason why I say, and this is for another show, we should never use Native American mascots for sports teams.
Amen.
And
You're right.
particularly for kids, for high schools and elementary schools and middle schools, because the stereotypes get set up
Yep.
that those kids are redskins, which is exactly the same word. Look it up in a dictionary as the N-word, or warriors or braves. It's all the stereotype stuff from the cowboys and the Indians. Talk about the election with now down to 3+ weeks, almost 4 weeks at the most, and with the implications of what happened in the last few days, and whether or not we're aiming for a close election for Hillary, close election for Trump, a landslide. I don't know which one's best for America, but what do you see in the crystal ball?
Well, the last part is the easy answer. Trump losing is best for America. But understanding that these are podcasts, and most people listen to podcasts, it's like radio on demand whenever they want to, so this could be a week or two dated by the time most people are listening to this. So the situation could change. But I am working on the assumption, and I will eat crow the day after the election, barring some huge piece of news which we don't know anything about. I don't think there's any possibility right now that, I don't see any way for Trump to win the election. So I think Hillary Clinton will be our next president. If I'm wrong, I'll say I was wrong, but right now, I just don't see it. That aside, if you just accept that for the moment, that that's probably what's going to happen, I think it is in everyone's best interest, anyone who's an American, obviously anyone who's a Democrat, but I'll go further. Anyone who is a Republican, if you want to save your party over these next 10 years, you have to hope that Hillary wins by a landslide. Follow me with how I got to this. In 1964, well, okay, so Nixon loses to Kennedy in 1960 in a very close election. 2 years later, Nixon, thinking that he wants to run against Kennedy because it was so close in 1964, runs for governor of California, thinking I'll get back into politics, I'll beat Brown in the race for, that's the current Jerry Brown's dad. He was governor of California at the time. This is 1962. I'll beat Brown for the race for governor. I'll be governor of California. I'm back in it, and then in '64 I can run for against Kennedy for the re-election. But in a surprise of all surprises, he loses to Brown, and therefore everyone's assuming Nixon's gone. You won't have me to kick around anymore was the famous line. So now that gave an opening suddenly to the right wing of the Republican Party, the farther of whom, at least in terms of elective politics, was Barry Goldwater. Suddenly, the right wing of the Republican Party had an opening. Nixon wasn't going to be there anymore. The right wing could take over the Republican Party and get the nomination in 1964. And they had what we are seeing now with Trump. Other than the issue being different, the dynamics are exactly the same. Goldwater had the fervor of the people to win the primaries. It was close, but finally the last primary, California, he beat Rockefeller. And Rockefeller was the symbol of the Republican establishment. You know, today it would have been Jeb Bush. So picture those people. You got Goldwater, who is Trump, although at least Trump had a political philosophy. So personally, he wasn't Trump. But the same right wing, he was a right-winger. So you had Goldwater with this group that was fanatical about him. And they loved Goldwater, among other things, because he voted against the Civil Rights Act. You know, he was going to have the Southern strategy. We weren't going to have any busing, as they said. And he wasn't afraid to use nuclear weapons. And, you know, so the issue became, oh my God, you can't have a crazy person like Goldwater with his finger on the button. There was a famous television ad that only ran once, but it was a little girl picking daisies out in the fields, and all of a sudden a nuclear mushroom cloud goes off if Goldwater's president. Very effective ad, only ran once, but it's part of our history now. So there you had Goldwater, the right-winger, running against well, ultimately Johnson, but he beat back the Republican establishment. First it was Eisenhower, the former president, who was saying, we can't have Goldwater. And then it was Rockefeller, and Rockefeller lost. And at the Democratic Convention in 1964, it's that famous picture of Nelson Rockefeller being booed by all the Goldwater delegates and giving the finger, which back then was just unheard of. He gave the finger to the delegates at the convention. And there was Romney's father, who was governor of Michigan at the time, and then Scranton. They had all these, quote, respectable Republican that said it's the end of the party if we have Goldwater. He will be at the top of the ticket. He will cause all of us to lose. It'll be a terrible landslide. The exact same language, I wish I had the quotes in front of me, that you are hearing now said by the Bushes, Romney, McCain. They're all saying he's going to take the whole ticket down. It's unconscionable. We can't have him. The result of '64, of course, was Lyndon Johnson won by the biggest landslide in history at that time. 8 years later, it would be McGovern losing big. But back then, that was the biggest. Johnson just destroyed him. And that civil war within the Republican Party, which gave the nomination to Goldwater, destroyed the Republican Party. The only reason they came back is because the Democrats in 1968 wound up with their own civil war over Vietnam, and then Bobby Kennedy and McCarthy running against Johnson. So the Democrats split, and Nixon came back and won by a very little bit. But for that civil war within the Democratic Party, the Republican Party was gone. So now we are at this year. If you are a Republican, if Hillary Clinton only wins by a bit, I promise you there will be such finger pointing. The Trump supporters will look at all the moderate Republicans and say, because of you we lost, because of you we didn't get behind Trump. We could have won this election. It's you. We will never back one of your candidates. So 4 years from now, don't come to us with a moderate candidate and don't ask us to come out and vote for that moderate candidate. And the moderates will say, see what happened? You give us Trump, and we barely lost the election. We could have beaten with Hillary with any moderate, responsible Republican. That is what will happen if the election is close. The Republican Party will be destroyed for 10 years. They won't recover, not because anything great the Democrats would do, but because the Republican Party will be so divided they will not be able to get behind one candidate. Because one candidate will either be from the Tea Party or one candidate will be a moderate. Neither side will back the other. So, if you are an American, you certainly want this to be a landslide, because it'll be a statement to America and the whole world that we stand up against bigotry, misogyny, all the horrible things that this campaign has brought about. The way we treat minorities, the way we, wouldn't it be great for America to stand up and say, particularly if Republicans and conservatives join, and just say, this is beyond politics, this is the most immoral, unethical thing we can do, to vote, to have Donald Trump be the leader of the free world and representative of the values of this country. So it'd be great for America to stand up and make that statement instead of the rest of the world laughing at us now. Secondly, obviously it'd be great for Democrats, because if she wins in a landslide, this could be the thing that breaks the back of the gridlock we have. If she wins by a landslide, all of a sudden it'll be very hard for the Republicans to stop her from governing, because it'll have been a landslide election. Everyone running for re-election will be conscious of that. And so therefore we'll start to get the legislation that has been blocked for 8 years. So it'll be good for Democrats and good for the country, for the agenda. And then, as I said, it's good for the Republicans. If you want to save your party, this better be a decisive election. Otherwise, you are living with a civil war within your party for the next decade.
Yeah. Well, we're unabashedly Democrats on this panel, the three of us, and we're strong Hillary Clinton supporters. So that's to add to that, please. Registration, well, it depends on what state you're in. I think it's pretty much over for registration. It could be wrong, and it
There
depends
were a
on when
couple
you're
that extended it because of the hurricane.
Yeah, Florida extended
Florida
it.
did.
So,
I thought there were a couple others, but yeah, I think for the most part.
Yeah.
but clearly vote. That's our message. Clearly vote. We're going to ask Red Cedars to come up here, our musical
are.
group. We're going to talk about them. They have a great story, and they're very, we're emotionally connected, and I'll explain. But hey, Megan, I know you're from England, and Jerry, you're from England, because you speak English.
I do
British.
speak England.
Well, could you do it?
It's gorgeous. I love it.
Could you do it?
Mr. Springer.
Well, how can you have a better accent than me when I was really born? Did I say that again?
Hello, how are you? Very nice to see you. Very nice to be here again.
Oh, I don't know, you know. I'm doing Dick Van Dyke again in Mary Poppins.
Poorly, very poorly.
Yes,
And he
yes.
was not good in that.
No.
Supercalifragilistic.
Don't you, that is my favorite movie of all time. Do not ruin it for me.
You are a lonely woman. That is your favorite movie of all time?
Absolutely
Better
it
than
is.
Sound of Music?
I don't like the Sound of Music.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh, you are un-Austrian.
I don't like the Sound of Music at all. No.
Oh, when she comes over the mountain.
I like Julie Andrews.
Oh,
See?
That sucks.
Now you just made
Hey,
it
the
even
reason
worse.
I brought it up
I
is, you
saw
know,
it 25 times.
I believe
That's
you.
God's truth.
we're heard in England.
Oh, yeah,
we're
that's
on
right.
we're on an English
Yes.
station. It's talk radio, right, Jerry,
Yes.
in London. And there is a family that listens to this podcast, the Beat family, B-E-E-T.
Beat.
Father's name is Lee. And so we wanted to say hello to them. And Megan, because you're British, I thought maybe it'd be nice for you just to say hello.
We still speak English,
Beat
though, in
family.
England.
Oh,
And we're very glad they're listening.
Hi,
They're
Beat
listening right now?
family. Oh,
This
that's
isn't a
so
joke?
cool.
Not a joke.
Well, hi, how
I
are
actually
you?
thought it was a setup, too. So hi, family.
Yeah, I can't trust anything you say.
No, you actually
Everything is so
can't.
foolish.
Yeah, I know.
He's your best friend.
Okay, so let's say hello and give a round of applause to the Red Cedars. And before we ask them to do their first song, we're going to ask, well, first of all, it's Dinah DeVoto, Patrick Who. Also Patrick Kennedy, but he goes by Patrick Who. But here's the significance of the Red Cedars. About 75 episodes when we started this podcast, we asked the Red Cedars, specifically Patrick, who has a song that I heard that is such a cool song. And I said to Jerry and Megan, how about if we use this at the opening of every show? So the song you hear at the beginning of every Jerry Springer podcast is that song. It's the instrumental part, and then Patrick starting to sing the first verse. It never plays out, so you never get to really hear the whole song.
I interrupted.
And we've asked them tonight, I think you can do it as your second song?
Correct.
They will play that song, and we'll talk about that in a second. It's a wonderful song with a great message. Dino, you wrote this song here. Tell us what it is and do it. Jerry Springer's going to help you with
Yes,
some of the
he's gonna
instrumental.
play the rain stick, if that's what
Play the rain
they call
stick.
that. Yeah, it's supposed to sound like a snake. Well, this is a song I wrote after reading a book about snake handling down in like Kentucky and Tennessee. And
Dinah, hold on a second.
Is that your phone?
Gene, you got a phone call.
You know whose phone this is? It's mine. It's your phone.
Well, how did you have been looking for it?
Because I was talking to Mickey when she was giving her directions to park here.
oh, shut up!
Shut it off. I'm sorry.
That wasn't planned.
Literally just looking for it.
I was looking for
Hold one second. Jerry, how long have you want to take the call here?
I'll call you right back.
That's his daughter, Katie. How many years have you been doing making your living in broadcasting? How many years?
36 years.
And did
Ever occurred to you?
anyone ever say to you, like, turn your phone off
Like Casey
before
does at
you...
the beginning of the show every
Yeah.
night?
Is that what they mean?
Uh-huh, turn it off.
All right, sorry, Donna. So,
It's really funny.
a song about snake
Yeah, it's
handling,
about snake handling down in Kentucky. And,
which is a
and
sort of a church thing.
It's a church thing,
Okay.
yeah. So this is almost like a little book report, sort of. The way I wrote the song is the highlights of what I thought was interesting. The book is Salvation on Sand Mountain, I think, by Dennis Covington. So here we go.
All right.
Pumpkin Brown's got a date with a canebrake rattlesnake. Ooh, Christian voodoo. Sand Mountain doesn't have much cloud 'cause they worship with the cotton mouth.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, but the serpent maketh the choice. Till the earth trembles with the rattles and cymbals that echo the death snake voice. That's a church of God with signs, till the pastor's doing time.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Sisters got to live down the old church side of the street. Christian voodoo. Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, but the serpent maketh the choice. Till the earth trembles with the rattles and cymbals that echo the death snake voice. Little sister got bit and died, till the church is electrified.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Find your place in the line, forego wine for fine strychnine.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, but the serpent maketh the choice. Till the earth trembles with the rattles and cymbals that echo the death snake voice. church, he's doing drugs and chasing skirts.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Praise the Lord, he's on track. Now he raises the diamond back.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, but the serpent maketh the choice. Till the earth trembles with the rattles and cymbals that echo the death snake voice. Brother Dennis met his fate. Now the kinfolk's starting to shake.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Oh, Shaya Paka Khan, oh, Salahale Khan.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Well, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, but the serpent maketh the choice. Till the earth trembles with the rattles and cymbals that echo the death snake voice. Through Jesus in the name of God, still the big snake's calling shots.
Ooh, Christian voodoo.
Oh, side tie, side tie.
Christian voodoo. Christian voodoo. Ooh, Christian voodoo.
That's a great song, Christian Voodoo by Dinah Devoto. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Patrick, talk to us for a second before you do the second song. It's called Mountain That Eats Men.
Correct.
And it came from your seeing a PBS show. Is that what it was? Or
I heard a NPR
NPR.
Radio article, and it was about a mountain in Bolivia that has been mined for like 300 years for silver, and it's gotten so bad that people are dying every day. That the descendants of the slaves who started it are doing it now, and that's what they call
And,
the
and
mountain
when you
itself.
hear this song, and they're going to do it, and like I say, it opens our podcast, it sounds a whole lot like a song that might come out of West Virginia or the
Correct.
coal country of Kentucky.
I wrote it actually for a project here locally to raise awareness for mountaintop removal.
Wow.
And then
All
I
right.
saw that article and just it occurred to me the human cost that happens with mining.
Very interesting. Red Cedars, Mountain That Eats Men.
My daddy came home every day from there with mud on his face and a cold blank stare from that mine. Down in that mine. He only did it 'cause his daddy would make that same old trip through them same old woods to that mine. Down in that mine. He said, son, please don't go down in that mine. Well, I swore to my dad I never worked down there, but here I stand, breathing this foul air from that mine. Down in that mine. This mine, it killed my grandpa. It's just killed my dad. I can't believe I'm still down here like I'm already dead. that mine. Down in that mine. I lost my soul. I'm gonna die down in that mine. Thank you.
That's a really good song. That's a
Really
really
wonderful.
good song. Inspired by mining tragedies in Bolivia, but that song is all Appalachia. There is no question about it.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from near Owensboro, Kentucky.
Perfect.
A little town called Whitesville.
Whitesville.
Shout out to
And
Whitesville.
both your dad and grandpa were coal miners at one point. You know.
Yeah, well, actually on their own coal mine, on their own farm. Yeah.
Well, that's a great song, and we love using it, and we thank you for writing it. And
Yeah.
we want to ask the Red Cedars to take us out on Irene Goodnight. And Jerry Springer is full Appalachian tonight, so he's going to sing the second verse.
watch
It's going to
out.
be quite unbelievable.
Yeehaw.
Last Saturday night I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and my wife have parted. I think I go out on the town. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Jerry Springer.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in that river and drown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. You all come back now, you hear? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.